All right, so we are completing lesson 14 today. And I shouldn't have to say this like every single day. I think I'll just send an email out. I mean, it's in the syllabus, so I've made it clear before, but for some reason it's still not clear. So I'm gonna say this now, it's on recording, it's gonna be, on YouTube, and I'm gonna send an email out here. But I've said this a million times, last time I'm saying it. And I tried to be nice. Like, I came from a school where if you had headphones in, it was just an automatic after school detention. They didn't give you 3 chances like this school. So the expectation is that if I'm teaching you something, you don't have headphones in. You don't stare at your phone. At the school that I was at, you can even use your phone as a calculator. That was also an automatic detention. And that was enforced from the principal all the way down. If you walked into a classroom where the teacher let them use headphones, even during like independent work time, the teacher got a nasty email and he wrote the detention to all the students that were in. So keep that in mind. This school gives you 3 chances before they start making you stay after school. And I've been super nice. I've been given like a ton of warnings. And for some reason, kids think I need to give them like a warning a day or something before that detention or purple slip goes out and they get sent to the office to get it confiscated, whatever. I'm just not gonna like waste my breath. I'll remind all your parents through email so that way they don't come back and complain to me that I didn't give you a warning, because I don't have to give you a warning. Your warning was in the syllabus that you and your parents got. And I'll remind them, school rules. Tired of seeing it. I will always let you know when it's appropriate. When I'm teaching, it's never appropriate. So just don't ever have them out. Last time I'm telling you. Understood? Okay. So moving on. We're finishing the lesson. You should all have the note sheet out right now. See, a lot of you do. Thank you. If you missed yesterday, lessons are always recorded. So check whatever day you missed. Make sure that you're caught up on your notes. And like I said, your next binder type is about 50 assessments. It's usually the number of pages total times 2. So since we have at least 26 lessons, you can do the math, that's at least 52 assessments. So make sure that your binder is staying up to date. Puzzle piece is lesson 19. All right, so puzzle piece is due. We all have some class time to work on it, but we have to keep it moving because we are testing for Unit 2 on Friday, October 28th. So not this Friday, but next Friday. Don't think that day is going to change. So be ready. There are lots of study materials in Schoology. They've been there since before fall break. There's a study guide that looks just like the Unit 2 test. Literally, all we changed were the numbers and maybe like the name, and maybe instead of filling a pool with water, it's something else, right? But if you can do every single problem on the study guide / practice test, there's no reason that on that 100 point portion of your test that you should be failing. And if you have trouble, you have plenty of opportunities to ask questions in class during like independent work time, or on the review day after I'm done checking binders, or during tutoring, or even through email. I don't mind answering your questions. But it's not like completely multiple choice. So like, as you can see, some of them are like drag and drop, so that's like hard for you. So use these questions as your study guide. This is the one that would be worth 100 class points. Granted, we're like on lesson 19 out of 26, so some of them we might have trouble with, but for the most part, like we've covered everything. So watch the videos, ask me questions, do what you need to do, but these are how you'll be tested. So any questions on the resources and tools? There's also a Quizlet and that glossary that I told you, or that I also provided you for unit 1, except now it's unit 2. So feel free to make sure you're studied and prepared. All right, so here's where we left off yesterday. We talked about basically these people are going on a field trip and it costs different amounts to go to Orchard A and Orchard B. And yesterday we left off explaining what this equation meant and what this inequality meant. So what did the n represent again? Is it number of students only? Well, it really should be something else. So read this again. Oh wait, yeah, it is. Just kidding. You're right. Totally right. Sorry, I thought it was number of students and chaperones. So yeah, strict number of students. Good, because that's what varied each time. The chaperones stayed constant throughout each situation. So 3 for Orchard A and 1 for Orchard B. Totally right. What about when it's equal? What does it mean? Good. So when n is the same for both, the cost is the same for both. So that is when the cost is equal. So add that in there. So when there's an equal sign, that's when both orchards cost the same for n students. All right, we actually have to solve for n to find out how many students, but there's going to be a point where it doesn't matter what orchard we go to if there's this many students. All right, now what about when there's an inequality symbol? What would once this is solved, what would the solution tell us? It would tell us when exactly one becomes cheaper than the other. So when, and it could be either Orchard A or Orchard B, but when one starts to be cheaper. So add that in too. Don't have that part. So when one starts to be cheaper than the other. Because as we saw in our example yesterday, sometimes Orchard A was the cheaper option, sometimes Orchard B was the cheaper option. So really, maybe I should have revised that instead of saying Orchard A is less than Orchard B. It just depends when that boundary hits. So what we're going to do now is solve this inequality and graph the solution on the number line. I really would like you guys to try it, but I understand not everyone remembers how to solve. So did we solve it yesterday? Okay. I'm gonna have you guys write some steps though, so that way you kind of have them to do. My other classes usually don't get as far as people. So some steps for solving. And I could pass out another paper that you'll need later today. The other paper has like a blank side, and then you can maybe fit those steps in there. Where you have it closed a lot better. All right. So steps for solving inequalities. I'm passing out the other paper that you need right now. And you can put the steps on there. All right, so the steps for solving inequalities are really the same as solving equations. Do you guys know what the first step for solving equations is? Distribute if necessary. Do you always have to distribute in every single problem that you're given? No, but if you can, do that first. And I know yesterday we showed a problem where they didn't distribute first. They still did acceptable moves and that was fine. But if you want to follow these steps, they will work 100% of the time. So steps for solving inequalities. Step 1, distribute if necessary. Step 2 would be to, well, I'm going to give you some steps that will work for every situation. So step 2 would be to combine like terms. Again, if necessary. Like in this problem, you'll see, because you guys solved it already with me yesterday, but we didn't have to. But usually after distributing, you do have. So distribute, combine like terms. Step 3 would be to move the variable to one side. If it's not already. Move the variable to one side. And then step 4 would be to isolate the variable. And that would be like, no. Undoing what's being done, starting with what's farther. That I won't list like as a little thing, but hopefully you know that. All right, so yeah, we're gonna apply these steps. And I know you guys already solved for n, but we'll just do it for the video sake. So step 1, distribute if necessary. In this problem, I actually have to distribute twice. What is 9 times n? 9 times 3. Good. And then keep the symbol. On the other side, what do you get when you distribute? Perfect. 10n plus 10. Real quick, if you want to add like maybe a star to remind yourself on your steps, when is the only time you flip the sign? So hold on, you guys said something? So only flip the inequality symbol. Not necessarily just when there's a negative, but what are you doing with that negative? Dividing or multiplying on each side. So only flip the inequality symbol when multiplying or dividing a negative on each side. All right, that's like in addition to these steps. Because like I said, the steps are the same for solving equations. So it is the same as solving equations, just you sometimes flip the symbol if you multiply or divide a negative on each side. Questions on that part, on that rule? Okay, so then, yeah, keep following your steps. We distributed. When I say combine like terms, I mean like check the left side. Are there any like terms there? No. Check the right side. Are there any like terms there? No. So then you move on to step 3. Move the variable to one side. Does it matter which one you move? No, just pick one. Yesterday, I think we moved the 9n, and I think that's a great strategy, moving the smaller one. Because then it's less likely that you'll have to work with negative numbers. But really, it doesn't matter. As long as you don't break it. What's 10n minus 9n? Good. You're all right. And then bring down that plus 10. Now variables on one side. Now we need to isolate it. How can I get rid of that plus 10? Sure. Whatever you do on one side. So then 27 minus 10 is, do I need to flip the sign? Because all you did was subtract. That's why I don't like saying when there's a negative, because I'm not going to make something. Only when you multiply or divide a negative on both sides. All we did is subtract. So yeah, there's our inequality symbol. Now plot it on your number line. And I know we did this yesterday too. So we'll just do it real quick. If I was making a number line, I'd put whatever number I'm comparing my variable to in the middle. You'll want some numbers to the right that are bigger. Now I'm deciding to count by half. Right, that's fine. To the left should be numbers that are perfect. This symbol, would it be an open or a closed circle? Open, because is 17 included in the answer? No, 17 is not less than 12. Right, it's equal to, and that doesn't have it open. So have it open. And what number is bigger in this relationship? The n is bigger. The opening wants to eat the bigger number. The n is bigger. So what side of the number line are numbers bigger than the 17? So then your arrow should face toward the right, or go to the right. So you need to plug it in to make sure, plug it in to make sure. Like one of these numbers that the arrow is on is 20. Is 17 less than 20?
Yeah.
So you got it facing the right direction. Questions on that? So at what point does it equal the same for both orchards? At what number? At 17. If you look at the equation, it was exactly the same. This would be replaced with the equal sign. N equals 17. So at n equals 17 is when both orchards cost the same. Doesn't matter where you go. After 17 students, one is cheaper. And if we look at our answers yesterday, orchard A becomes cheaper when there's more than 17 students. When there's less, orchard B is cheaper. So questions on that? Good? All right. Now, here's what we'll do. So there's kind of a lot done. And it is important, but we also have other things. So here's the next portion. I think it's called part-time work or something like that. And this is a real world situation. So to help pay for his tuition, a college student plans to work on evenings and on weekends. He's been offered 2 part-time jobs, working in the guest services department at a hotel and waiting tables at a popular restaurant. I waited tables for like 5 years. Great money for while you're in college. Literally, you can like leave a shift with like hundreds of dollars in your pocket. Very worn out by the end of my 5 years serving tables. I definitely make more money teaching, which says a lot, because as you know, teachers don't make as much as like other jobs, but I make way more teaching than serving, and I'm happier teaching than serving tables. Just FYI. but it's great to do while you're in college. Anyway, it looks like this person is contemplating which one to take. So here's some stipulation. The job at the hotel pays $18 an hour and offers $33 in transportation allowance per month. The job at the restaurant pays $7.50 an hour plus tips. The entire wait staff typically collects about $50 in tips each hour. Tips are divided equally among the 4 wait staff members who share a shift. And this time they're not making you make the equation. The equation's already given for you. I think you just need to fill it in. So the equation that I'm highlighting, 7.50h plus 50 over 4h equals 18h plus 33. That represents a possible constraint about a situation. So on the left side, what job is being referred to on the left side? Good, the waiting tables, right? Because you get paid $7.50 an hour, plus tips, which that could vary too, but it looks like they typically collect $50 in tips each hour. That's why it's also multiplied. But why is it divided by 4? Because there's 4 staff members. So if it's weird to see like the number in front as a fraction, whatever 50 divided by 4 is, if that helps you see it better, like as a decimal, that's the money that they're taking. They just left it as a fraction. And then on the right, what job is that? The hotel job. Why is there no H next to the 33?
Because it's not per hour.
It's not per hour. Good. H represents hours. It's just kind of like a one-time fee, right? If this was by design plus fee, this is no line or something. So they're starting at, and then whatever they make per hour. So what you guys are going to do is solve the equation. Remember, the steps for solving equations is the same as inequalities, with the exception of what's in the red. All right, but it's an equal sign, you don't have to worry about what's the same either way. So first, solve the equation. Correct. Can you distribute class in this problem? No, and sometimes that happens. That's why it says if necessary. Really, steps 1 through 3 can all say it's necessary. If you don't have to do it in that problem, then you move on to the next. Good, any questions? All right, so first, solve the equation and check your solution. I'll give you like 90. All right, anyone think they successfully solved the equation? And if so, what does H equal? All right, I heard one person say it. Discuss in your groups. Did you get an answer? If so, what did you? All right, if you follow the steps, you all should have gotten it. And since you all have access to a calculator, there's no reason not like fractions and decimals. All right, so let's review it. First step in solving equations and inequalities is to distribute if necessary. I kind of mentioned this before. Do I need to distribute in this problem? No, so move on to step 2, which is to combine like terms. So look on the left side of the symbol. Are these like terms?
Yes.
Yes, they both have the same variable. So you need to combine them. I know one's a decimal, the other's a fraction. Convert one of them. Probably easier to convert the other one to a decimal. What's 50 divided by 4?
12.5.
So if we make this 7.5h plus 12.5h, that's the same. What is that? 20, good. 20h on the left side. Right side, do I need to define like terms? No. No, because there aren't like terms. I know some kids will be like, oh, well, I'm going to combine the 20 and the 18 because those both have an H, but you just have to look on each side separately. Once you've done that, combine all the like terms you can. Then you move on to the next step, which is to move the variable to one side. So that doesn't mean that I can just take the 18H, put it on the other side, and make it 38H. You have to do your inverse operation to cancel it out. So what did you guys do? 20H or 18H? How do you make the 18H 0? And whatever you do on one side, perfect. On the left side, what's 20H minus 18H? H. On the right side, what remains? A positive 33. And then we move the variable to one side. Now isolate the variable. What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Whatever you do on one side, H equals 16.4. Perfect. Lots of questions like that on your unit test. Even with fractions. Don't let that intimidate you. Okay, you can all do that in your calculator. So now it says graph on a number line. When it's an equal sign, how many answers are there? 1. That's whatever it's equal to. H would be 15.5. So I wouldn't have necessarily an arrow on my number line for equation, but where would the circle be? 16.5. So I believe you guys have a number line. If you're representing your solution to that equation on there, the circle would be on the 16.5. Technically, it'd be a closed one. It includes the 16.5. And then it says put a scale on the number line so that the point mark with the circle represents the solution to the equation. So what do you guys want to count by? Someone said 1, someone said 0.5. That's fine. Maybe this one can be 17. This one can be 17.5. 18, 18.5, 19. The numbers to the right should always be bigger. Numbers to the left should always be good. So 16. This could be 15 and a half. This could be 15, 14 and a half. This could be 14. I didn't label every single tick mark, but they're going up by. Question? All right. Let's see if we can make this in Desmos, just so we can cancel out that last activity. And give you time to practice. So if I were to throw this in Desmos, remember, does Desmos read H's? No, like if I type in, let's see, where's my equation? Oh, it's right there. I highlighted it. Like if I type in 7.5 H plus 50 over 4 H, like it's not really giving me anything. Even if I put equals T for total, still not giving me anything. So what can I do to make the graphing calculator read it? Make it X's and Y's. So now that that's an X and make this a Y, now I have a line graph. When I put in the other side of my equation, that one was 18X plus 33. Now I have another line. Remember, we did systems of equations. We can make this a system.
Where they intersect is where they both cost the same, and the equal sign would be like when they cost the same, right? If we're saying that H is 16.5, so it looks like I'm having to kind of zoom out. It's not super ideal to do that. Where they intersect is the solution when they both cost the same. So actually I need to put equals y. That's my problem. And to figure out what it costs would be the y value when it intersects. So I'm just having a hard time finding it on this scale. But 16.5 on the x would be like up here. So it's supposed to cross toward up here on the graph. Almost there, right? It gets super close to where it eventually crosses and starts to be the same. So yeah, that's one way. As you can see, it might not be as easy than solving it using the steps, but that's another thing that you can do. If you were to type it in as an inequality, so now I'm gonna use an inequality symbol. So do this also in Desmos too, like you'll need your Chromebook in like 6 minutes anyway. So what you're going to do now is put these two inequalities into Desmos. All right, and I don't know if this is on your paper, but it's on the screen right here. And I'm gonna also type it in. So if you do inequality 1 into Desmos, again, remember it doesn't read H's, so just replace them with X's. And look what happens to your graph. Come on, I kind of want to reset this, so I think I'm just gonna put it in a different one. I like zoomed out too far and I can't find the normal spot. All right, but look at where it crosses on the x-axis, because remember we said that the x would represent hours. Look at where the solution is. And why is it a dotted line? Anyone remember? Well, this time it's not an equal sign. It's an inequality sign. It's the less than one. Look what happens if I change that to less than or equal to. So if I click this keyboard and I click that button, it makes it less than or equal to. Now it changes to a solid line. All right, so just like the circle being like open or closed or whatever, now it's solid or dotted. So when it's just less than or greater than, it's going to be a dotted line. And then put in inequality 2. So the only difference in inequality 2 is what? The sign flips. And look what happens to our shaded regions. So the way that the sign faces also tells you where your solutions are going to be. So if I have it as, you know, the waiting job less than the hotel job, that would be anywhere that it's shaded red. So this person makes less at the waiting job compared to the hotel job in the red area. So if he works like less than 16.5 hours. When does he make more than the hotel job? In the blue or the red? In the blue. All right, because now it's showing that this is greater than the hotel job that we said. So now if I'm trying to determine like at 40 hours, which job would probably be better, you would say the hotel job. If you can only work like 15 hours, which job would probably be better? The wait table job. Does that make sense? All right. So there's that piece of information, and we'll do more practice with that in the future. So in summary, you can check your answers to inequalities on here. Perfectly acceptable. If you know how to use your own like handheld graphing calculator to do this, then that's great. I don't see why you can't use it on a test if it's provided to you. And you all will have access to Desmos on every quiz and test. All right, but now you also know the steps to do it by hand. So questions on today's lesson, good? All right, I wanted to stop by 8 so that way you have time to practice. So feel free to revisit the learning targets. If you can graph the solution to an inequality one variable, then you met the goal. If you can solve one variable inequalities and interpret the solutions in the real world situation, then you met the goal. And if you can understand that solutions to inequalities are a range of values versus like just one number, then you've met the goal. All right. So now spend the rest of the time working on your lesson 19 puzzle piece. I'm here if you have questions.